Uh-oh. I have not heard any song about Charlie Kirk.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out.
I did not watch the new South Park. I usually just watch the clips and stuff from them. I don't.
They wanna let the world decay.
It's very rare I'll watch a full episode. I do go look them up sometimes.
Fade away, we feel betrayed.
I've already played that game, Subliminal. I played it, man, a long time ago, maybe like a couple years ago. I only did one episode on it because it didn't, like, people just didn't want to watch it. I saw the email though.
Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away.
It's cool. It fucks with your mind and like your like forced perception and shit. I still own the game. I've not beat it. I've played it a couple times. Only once on stream, though. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. I do want to address Hegseth and the attacks. We found out some new information about, I think it was the first attack happened in September. There were survivors.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways,
Chat doesn't allow links to be shared.
Enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving? No? Yes? I don't know. I don't know what it looks like on your end, but on my end, it just shows, for the rest of the chat, it just shows stars. So it doesn't hurt anything. You have to say sorry, but nobody else can see it, because if you have links on in your Twitch chat, the bots come in here and just drop random fucking links. But I will look it up while I'm talking about it, or while y'all are talking about it. It was Hegseth, South Park, Detective. Is that what you said? I don't know what it looks like on your end, but everybody else just sees asterisks. Saudi sellouts and Pete Hegseth. Let's see. Might as well start off the post-holiday stream with a fucking copyright strike, huh? Everybody enjoy their Thanksgiving, by the way? I don't know. Mine was very not good.
South Park just blessed us with their best Thanksgiving special in a really long time. Happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate, but man, this was a fun one. Season 28, Episode 4, Turkey Trot is an absolute banger. This episode hit me with some serious nostalgia and feels like a return to form for my favorite character, Eric Cartman. You know, everyone always raves about the duo of Cartman and Butters, but honestly, whenever he's paired with Token,
seems like more like a review. Maybe I have to find a clip in a second.
Token is bound to be a bass guitar in your basement somewhere.
The episode also completely rage baits Pete Hegseth in the Department of Defense, or I guess the Department of War, depending on who you ask. Of course, we can't leave out how they constantly call out people who have taken money from Saudi Arabia. They even roast fellow comedians, and it's absolutely perfect.
Ooh.
Let's jump into our episode analysis. Don't forget to everyone like and subscribe to
That was a big deal with all the fucking comedians that went to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia's human rights violations, but fuck, then Trump comes in here and has the prince in there and starts saying, oh, he knows nothing about it, blah blah blah. But they made that bag, dude. They made a shit ton.
Hey, at least I'm self-aware about my shamelessness. All right, here is
That's right, Marita. You take care of that.
The episode begins at City Hall, where Mayor McDaniels is holding a meeting with some of the business owners in South Park.
They're going to need a new logo by the time you're done with them.
She lets everyone know that the annual South Park Turkey Trot is just around the corner. I'm going to be honest, I've lived all over the country. Times are tough in South Park. Sad to mention, not expecting that at all.
Let's just see if we can find the Hegseth clip. Hegseth tear gases South Park Turkey Trot runners. What?
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're talking about one of the craziest moments in recent
This
South
sounds
Park,
AI.
the most absurd whole new level by portraying Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of War. But instead of handling real threats or serious situations, Hegseth treats a small-town turkey trot fun run like it's an international crisis. He labels the participants as narco-terrorists, straps on his uniform, and literally orders tear gas.
Oh my God, look at his makeup in this
Turkey
picture.
trot fun run like it's an international crisis. He labels the participants.
He's getting more Trump-like. Look at that. Look how much bronzer he's got on, bro.
as narco-terrorists, straps on his uniform, and literally orders tear gas on innocent runners. And of course, the entire chaos is live streamed for the world to see, perfectly capturing the absurdity of overperformative, attention-seeking authority figures. South Park has always been known for pushing the limits, but this episode is a masterclass in satire. It's not just poking fun at one
What did Bill Burr do this time?
individual. Its culinary events seem dangerous and turns serious institutions into platforms for self-promotion. Essentially, it's a mirror showing what happens when politics, media, and spectacle make terrifying all at once. Character look like a cartoonish action hero obsessed.
We're not going to get a clip from that. We'll find a clip eventually. Director, that was from 3 months ago. Let's just do Headset South Park. I don't know why. There's usually clips up by now. Oh, I didn't know Bill Burr was part of it.
Saudi Arabia and Peabody in professional sport and sixth made repeated Jimmy Carr and Saudi. I mean, prohibited later in the episode.
What's with all the AI fucking channels, dude? It's killing me. That's another one, right? That's another AI channel. Let's see. I didn't know he went to the Middle East. I knew some other ones that did, but I didn't know Bill Burr went.
Pete Hegseth will do whatever it takes. I'm here to kick bubble gum and chew and I'm all out of ass.
And that's don't just make a bunch of content. Like, actually go and do something.
A South
As we
just ripped Pete Hegseth's ego to shreds.
This seems like a better review.
Episode 4, turning him into the most embarrassing political punchline.
I dare you to do that again. Oh! Our plan
shit.
is to intercept them at this location here.
He got kicked out of the police
We
department.
possibly can.
The episode dragged his vanity, his fake toughness, and his obsession with clout through the mud with
He's got his phones on a selfie stick. Did you see that? He's storming the police department with his phone on a selfie stick.
clout through the mud with zero mercy. If you thought South Park had gone soft, this episode proves they're still perfectly willing to vaporize a public figure on national TV.
That was him getting kicked out? Okay.
Hey, man. Listen, I was just wondering whose team you're thinking of being on for the big turkey trot. Turkey trot? You know, the Bigfoot race, Thanksgiving morning, first place wins $5,000 for his whole team.
The turkey trot in South Park was already a yearly disaster, but this time the show dialed it up to DEFCON 1 stupidity. Why just have a race when you can completely obliterate the U.S. Defense Secretary's ego on national television?
Ooh.
The whole event turns into a political circus, and somehow Pete Hegseth is the clown running the show.
Who's Pete Hegseth?
The soldiers that are on his guard duty or whatever are also recording. Both of them. Both of them are recording for TikTok or vertical videos.
Yeah! Hey, what? Up, guys, it's Pete Hegseth, the Department of War. Here they come. Everyone hold your positions. Department of War will not be intimidated.
So it starts with the mayor desperately hunting for a sponsor for the turkey trot. Integrity Farms won't help, and the City Asian pop-up store is drowning in tariff drama and can't spare a penny. So the town does what any morally confused and financially broke American town would do. They let Saudi Arabia sponsor the race.
It's the
Oh, no.
South Park Turkey Trot, sponsored by Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
Of course they do. They drop $5,000 on the prize and slap down a rule banning any insult to the royal family.
And all the analytics show that with you on the team, we can't lose. Could you just do it for Thanksgiving? All right, fine.
Meanwhile, poor Token just wants to mind his own business and not run a 5K. But South Park doesn't do no. Instead, someone hits him with race science, which is about as scientifically accurate as a Facebook meme.
All right, look, Token, I'm a racing science expert.
I think, so the problem with comedy right now is the Joe Rogan sphere, right? Joe Rogan is making people that aren't funny fucking headliners and Netflix specials and shit, and then people watch them and they're like, this shit isn't funny. Hell, Joe Rogan's not funny. I think that Bill Burr was already on the outside of that, right? He's called those people out multiple times. I don't know, man. It's a lot of money. I guess it depends. If you're like coming up and you get this opportunity, that's one thing. But if you've already got millions in the bank and you still take this opportunity, I think that's a different thing. Maybe that's me just being a piece of shit. But like if I was just coming up, I didn't have like enough wealth to survive for another 150 generations, and that money was waved in front of me, I think that's a different decision than you've been here, you've done every round, you've stacked money forever, you're on your like fourth fucking summer home and own 30 sports cars, right? Like, that's a different decision.
That data shows your race always wins races.
Apparently the data says Token's race always wins races. Yes, that's the logic on the table. Then they throw in an emotional guilt trip about Stan's family losing their home, which suddenly turns the turkey trot into a charity mission with psychological warfare included. And because manipulation is never complete without theft, the guy steals Token's Xbox just to force him to join. Forget motivation. South Park goes straight to felony level persuasion. Once the race starts, everything gets even more unhinged. Roads are blocked off, runners are stressed, and everyone's trying to figure out if taking a shortcut will disqualify them. And the only thing that matters is whether Saudi Arabia approves. South Park somehow manages to blend geopolitical satire with Thanksgiving cardio.
But they said if we don't comply, they're going to send in Pete Hegseth and the Department of War. Who's Pete Hegseth?
Oh, God. If they don't comply with Saudi Arabia, they're sending in Pete Hegseth?
And then Pete Hegseth crashes into the plot like a malfunctioning drone. The show absolutely mauls him. They paint him as a walking disaster, an insecure, selfie-addicted, clout-thirsty grown man who mistakes joggers for Antifa rebels.
Department of War! We're
Antifa rebels.
here to infiltrate this police station and extract the POI, because that's what we do! At ease, soldier!
Yes, in his mind, a Thanksgiving fun run is
Just looks at him.
He storms in with troops like he's
He's pulling, by the way, on this tire pull, look, he's pulling a dirt bike tire. Look at this tire. Oh.
troops like he's starring in a bootleg action movie no studio would ever fund. And of course, he's calling it the Department of War because branding is apparently more important than competence.
President of the United States orders you to release custody of the prisoner to me immediately. I warned you I had powerful friends. How about you just put
Oh, God.
the button in the floor over here and the jail cell doors will all open. The secret button? Yeah, it's in the floor right there. You see it? It's right there. It is.
He goes to infiltrate the police station and immediately gets outsmarted by the police chief, who tricks him into pressing a giant obvious button that opens every jail cell in town. Congratulations, America. Your defense secretary just set free an entire jail because he can't resist touching buttons. Prisoners run loose, chaos explodes, and Hegseth's brilliant plan dissolves into the kind of catastrophe even TikTok wouldn't approve.
Commitment, strength, the ability to obliterate our enemies. That is the Department of War. What's up, guys? I'm Pete Hegseth.
Then comes the physical comedy. Hegseth straight up chokes a turkey trot runner, as if strangling a jogger counts as battlefield glory. Every scene with him is just layers of humiliation.
Sir, yes, sir. I'm gonna need the full might of the Department of War. I'll need all our tanks and guns and dudes.
Then you got it. Just get us the prisoner no matter what it takes.
He poses for selfies mid-crisis, he glorifies his own incompetence through dramatic footage, and he narrates chaos
Jesus Christ.
of a movie that nobody would ever willingly watch.
They did get his hair good. You're right.
So brutally sarcastic, it should count as psychological warfare.
Yeah, we don't need Homeland Security's help. We got it.
We're just here to assist in any way we can. That's what Homeland Security does. Be sure to like and subscribe, guys. We've got
Oh, no. This is not your content. Everyone like and subscribe to the Department
They're in a battle over the content.
of War.
Homeland Security to Department of War. The protesters are headed your way.
Stand down, Homeland Security. This is our content.
There's too many of them.
And here we witness a petty feud between Hegseth and Kristi Noem over who gets better social media content. They're arguing about angles and engagement rates while the town burns around them. It's pathetic, it's petty, and it's way too close to real politics to be comfortable. South Park practically screams,
Way too true.
leadership we deserve. And honestly, they're not wrong.
I told you, I'm not a runner. Yes, you are. Will you stop? Around.
Meanwhile, Token is still fighting for survival, both in the race and from the guy chasing him with his stolen Xbox. Meanwhile, Token keeps insisting he's not some naturally gifted super runner just because of his race, but the other guy is so deep into idiotic race science that rational thoughts bounce right off him. The whole situation perfectly captures the stupidity of stereotypes, but South Park wraps it in so much humor, you don't realize you're learning something until you're already laughing.
You can hear the liberal terrorists all screaming and chanting behind us. We're gonna take them on. Just another day in the Department of War. Let's move out.
All this madness crashes together during the race, where Hegseth's Department of War floods the streets with tear gas, confusion, and a
Oh, so he dares him to do it again. That's how he gets kicked outside.
spectacular
I
battle
gotcha.
of failure. The turkey trot becomes a war zone, runners coughing, troops panicking, and Hegseth spiraling into delusion. Token fights through every obstacle, proving that determination beats narcissistic leadership every single time. South Park unleash a full-blown character assassination.
Damn, dude.
Mixes Kenny Loggins' danger zone. They don't even pretend to be subtle. They go straight for the jugular with the line heard across America. Pete Hegseth's a badouche. That's it. That's the lyric, not a metaphor. And the wild part is that they turn this music sequence into a psychological x-ray of Hegseth's ego. You get clips of him preening for the camera, posing like he's auditioning for a one-man TikTok military parade, and flexing his leadership by shouting commands no one asked for. Subscribe, like, and comment why you like this video for a chance to win a new Apple MacBook.
Hey, man, I don't think you understand. You're messing with the Department of War. And we mean business. We don't stand down for anyone. Be sure to like and subscribe. All right, let's do this. Holy shit, we've got an
Barking.
uprising. All right, Department of War, listen up. The people of this town are starting an insurrection, but they will not stand in the way of us getting our man.
And then, just when you all think this government disaster can't get any more embarrassing, the spotlight swings right back to Hegseth's Department of War, and the humiliation hits a new level. Hegseth is out there trying to stage manage an Antifa uprising that doesn't exist because he needs content.
Holy shit, shots fired, shots fired. Get set up over there. We need content now. What's up, guys? Pete?
We need content.
We are being fired upon. There's an uprising here, some kind of insurrection. Be sure to like and subscribe. 3rd Battalion. You'll be posting up here. I want you posting on Instagram and Twitter. Alpha Team posts here, Bravo Team content there.
That's right, not strategy, not security, not policy. Content. He's running a federal department like it's a YouTube channel. Meanwhile, Homeland Security...
This is very good. I might watch this whole episode now.
Vince, they're the ones handling the situation, and suddenly you've got a turf war in the middle of a charity foot race. South Park turns the entire event into an accidental civil war between agencies that...
Yeah, the starting pistol was a shots fired.
...don't even know what they're fighting about.
What's up, guys? Pete Hegseth, Department of War. We've got the narco-terrorists on the run, and we're gonna take them out.
But the real star of this mayhem is the police chief, the only man in the episode with 2 working brain cells. Every time Hegseth tries to flex his authority, the chief shuts him down with the same blunt message. Get the hell out of my town. The chief treats Hegseth like an annoying neighbor who won't stop bragging about his lawnmower. It's petty, disrespectful, and perfectly captures the core of South Park's satire. When ego meets reality, ego loses.
On behalf of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, this year's Turkey Trot Grand Prize goes to the team of South Park's very own Token Black.
And then comes the moment nobody expected. Token actually wins the turkey trot. Yep, after all the chaos, the tear gas, the government turf wars, and the non-stop psychological torture, Token crosses the finish line first. The kid who didn't even want to run ends up wiping the floor with everyone, and the town suddenly has to confront the uncomfortable, ridiculous idea that all their race science.
There you go, almost there.
But South Park doesn't let anyone enjoy that victory for long. The Department of War immediately vows South Park's going to pay for this, because apparently that's how mature leaders react when a middle schooler outruns their delusions. It's the perfect cliffhanger, a promise that the petty, insecure chaos machine known as Pete Hegseth isn't done embarrassing himself yet.
South Park's gonna pay for this. They're all gonna pay.
And the world outside the show ate it up. Media outlets didn't hold back one bit, calling
Damn,
poser and
they did a good job.
Fans praised the episode for its savage energy. Critics applauded how well the political commentary blended with absolute stupidity. And suddenly, the whole internet was buzzing about how South Park just detonated a political figure using animation.
I mean, the more they go after South Park, the worse it makes them. They're better off just to ignore it or laugh along with it. One of the two.
And an 80s soundtrack, because that's what South Park does best. They exaggerate, they mock, they spin real headlines into chaotic art, and then they hand it back to the audience.
Yeah. Peter Thiel's in there from the Antichrist episode.
Detonated a political figure using animation and an 80s soundtrack, because that's what South Park does best. They exaggerate, they mock, they spin real headlines into chaotic art, and then they hand it back to the audience with a smirk.
Damn, that was pretty good. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. All right, let's talk about we learned more about let's see. Hegseth orders to even if the narco terrorists were legitimate combatants, even if they can jump around and say, oh, well, yeah, because we declared Tren de Aragua is a terrorist organization and we're attacking their equipment. Listen to this shit we just learned. The first strike in September, it was like on September 2nd, there were orders to leave no survivors. So there's a thing in the law of war, right, or a law of armed conflicts that is called, I think it's called hors de combat, but it basically means out of combat, right? And when an enemy combatant, if they're actually, first of all, they're not combatant, they're citizens, so that's strike one. That's like level one. But even if they made a good argument around that, once they surrender or are no longer able to produce some type of threats, okay? So let's say they're injured, or, you know, you blew the weapon out of their hand, or they trip and break their leg and their weapon goes flying, they can't get to it. Once they're out of combat, it includes, like, if they get incapacitated by wounds or sickness, if they're clearly expressing an intent to surrender, if they're, this is the big one. Now listen to this one. This is one of the bullet points. If they're parachuting from a disabled aircraft, right? So aircraft gets struck and they eject. Or let's say it's a big aircraft, it's going down and a bunch of paratroopers jump out the back of it, like a C-130, right? A disabled aircraft. Or shipwrecks. Those individuals are protected from attack. You cannot attack those people. Shipwrecked being a huge one. What we learned about in September was the first strike. They were told to leave. They were specifically instructed from Hegseth himself, from his desk, from his orders. No survivors. which is one thing if the first strike kills everybody on board, right? Because they'll make the argument they're combatants and we were attacking their equipment and vessels and their money-making thing, and they just happen to be in the way. It's a whole different thing when the first strike hits and we're calling them combatants, the boat's disabled, they're floating in the goddamn ocean still alive, and they strike them again, which is what they did. Which is what they fucking did. Listen to this. The U.S. military carried out a follow-up strike on a suspected drug vessel operating in the Caribbean on September 2nd. After the initial attack did not kill everyone on board, sources familiar with the matter told CNN. That September strike was the first in what became a regular series of attacks on alleged drug boats. While the first strike appeared to disable the boat and cause deaths. So they're shipwrecked. By definition, they're shipwrecked. No longer functioning ship. The second attack killed the remaining crew on board, bringing the total death toll to 11 and sunk the ship. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had ordered the military prior to the operation to ensure the strike killed everyone on board. So they're in a disabled boat that's on fucking fire, that's blown to bits, half their crew is dead. Why wouldn't we swing around and pick those? If we're really trying to stop trafficking, right? If we're really trying to stop trafficking, why wouldn't we swing around and pick those people up and interrogate them? Why wouldn't we ask them who they work for, what's their schedule, what they're transporting, where are they going to, who are they meeting, who paid for it, where'd they pick it up at, how much was on board? Any questions? The only reason you kill everybody is because you don't want them answering any questions. But it's not clear if he knew there were survivors prior to the second strike. He was told that he told them to ensure the strike killed everyone on board. But it's not clear if he knew there were survivors prior to the second strike, one of the sources said. The strike and deaths were announced by President Donald Trump on the days of the attack, but the administration has never publicly acknowledged killing the survivors. Trump said on Thursday that action on land to stop suspected drug trafficking networks in Venezuela could start very soon amid ongoing questions about the legality of U.S. military's campaign around Latin America. Now, eventually, even Republican congressmen are going to get upset with the power that Trump is wielding to do these extrajudicial killings. Even the war hawk type of Congress knows it's their power, right, to make wars. Officials have acknowledged not knowing the identities of everyone on board the boats before they are struck, CNN has reported. Quote, I've been alarmed by the number of vessels that this administration has taken out without a single consultation of Congress. Just last week, I took a look in a skiff because I'm a member of Foreign Affairs at some of the documents surrounding the sinking of these vessels and the murder of people on those boats. Nowhere in there was there evidence of what was going on. And that's from Madeleine Dean, Democratic Representative Madeleine Dean. People briefed on the double tap strike said they were concerned that it could violate the law of armed conflicts, which prohibits the execution of an enemy combatant who is hors de combat or taken out of the fight due to an injury or surrender. They're breaking the law either way, said Sarah Harrison, a former associate general counsel at the Pentagon, who now serves as senior analyst at the Crisis Group think tank. They're killing civilians in the first place, so that's like level number one. And then even if you assume their argument's right that they're combatants, it's also unlawful. Under the law of armed conflict, if somebody is out of combat and no longer able to fight, then they have to be treated humanely. Details of the strikes are first reported by The Intercept and The Washington Post. Hegseth, in a social media post Friday, continued to defend the strikes on alleged drug boats, writing, our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict, and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. I don't know that it is when you're killing fucking shipwreck survivors. The ship was disabled. They're floating targets. They're not fighting anybody because there's nobody around. Every trafficker we kill is affiliated with a designated terrorist organization. Even when I was overseas, when someone was fighting, shooting at us, whatever, and even knowing that a lot of times they would surrender with an explosive strapped to them, right? With a vest or something on. Even then, we would still have to honor them surrendering. You'd have to make them stop, and make them pull up their shirt, turn around, do all these crazy things to make sure they didn't have a suicide vest on. But even then, knowing that this guy's probably trying to blow us all up, we still had to honor their surrendering. Sometimes they got suicide vests on, and they're not even the one who activates them. Like they're being forced to wear them, and somebody off in the distance that can see where they're at is the one with the detonator. The U.S. military was aware that there were survivors in the water following the first strike on September 2nd and carried out another to both sink the vessel and kill the remaining crew, the sources said. Pentagon officials told lawmakers in briefings afterward that the second strike was done to sink the boat so it would not pose a threat to navigation. Okay. If we would have picked up the survivors, rendered aid, and arrested them, and then sunk the boat, would that be a risk to navigation? The U.S. military has hit boats multiple times in several instances to sink them, the sources said, but the September 2nd strike is the only known instance where the military deliberately killed their survivors. It's not clear why the survivors were not picked up, as they were following another strike in the Caribbean in October. So in October, they picked up survivors. And we repatriated them to their home countries. But on the first strike, for some reason, we killed the survivors. In that instance, the Trump administration rescued 2 survivors and repatriated them to their home countries. In a post announcing the September 2nd strike on Truth Social, President Donald Trump said that the U.S. military had conducted a kinetic strike against positively identified Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists in the South Com area of responsibility. He didn't type this out. Somebody sent it to him. He copied and pasted it, but whatever. The administration has tried to legally justify its strikes on the boats by claiming they are carrying individuals linked to roughly 24 drug cartels engaged in armed conflict with the U.S. The White House has said repeatedly that the administration's actions comply fully with the law of armed conflicts, the area of international law that is designed to prevent attacks on civilians. Many legal experts, however, say the suspected drug traffickers are civilians, not combatants, and that the strikes therefore amount to extrajudicial killings. Before the U.S. military began blowing up boats in September, countering illicit drug trafficking was handled by law enforcement in the U.S. Coast Guard, and cartel members and drug smugglers were treated as criminals with due process rights. But in a classified legal opinion produced over the summer, the Justice Department argued that the president is legally allowed to authorize lethal strikes against 24 cartels and criminal organizations in self-defense because the groups pose an imminent threat to Americans. That's their claim, right? The argument has potentially been undercut by the behavior of the suspected traffickers who have been targeted. In at least one instance, a boat turned around and was moving away from the U.S. before we struck it. So how are they an imminent threat to Americans if they turned around and were coming back and we still blew it up? Survivors of the strike on September 2nd also posed no imminent threat since they were effectively incapacitated. The sources briefed on the strikes in Harrison noted. Senior U.S. defense officials and U.S. allies have expressed skepticism. Even the UK, how bad is it? Even the UK, arguably our greatest ally, is no longer sharing intelligence with us around the Caribbean because they think that what we're doing is war crimes. The UK, who shares everything with us at all times, is like, nah, we're not going to share that intelligence with you because we think you're committing war crimes. Senior U.S. defense officials and U.S. allies have expressed skepticism of the legality of the military campaign. The commander of the U.S. Southern Command, Admiral Alvin Halsey, offered to leave his post during a tense meeting last month with Secretary of Defense Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff after he raised questions about the legality of the strikes, CNN has reported. Halsey will leave his post in December, just 1 year into his tenure as the Southcom chief. That's very rare, okay? Very rare that within 1 year you're leaving your post and you didn't do anything wrong, right? Like you didn't fuck some kids or some shit like that, like something crazy. Lawyers specializing in international law within the DoD's Office of General Counsel have also raised concerns about the legality of the strikes. Multiple current and former uniformed lawyers told CNN that the strikes do not appear lawful. The United Kingdom is also no longer sharing, I didn't know this in the article, but no longer sharing intelligence with the U.S. about suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean because it does not want to be complicit in U.S. military strikes and believe the attacks are illegal. Pretty fucking insane, honestly. That even the UK is like, nah, we're going to sit this one out, Chief. Like, all the fucking war crimes you're committing are getting us a little bit nervous. So, we're just gonna pretend like, nah, we're good. We're good. So, we'll just chill over here. If it's all the same with you, we'll just chill. I don't know what this video is, but Atsuko shared it. Hold on.
All right, folks, check this out. MAGA Pete Hegseth is currently melting down.
Oh, this is on the exact same thing I was just talking about. So that fits together.
Publicly over the new reporting from the Washington Post today that he and Donald Trump committed very serious war crimes in the Caribbean. Pete Hegseth isn't even denying central aspects of the story. He's kind of doubling down, making his own situation even worse. So we're going to see what Pete Hegseth had to say about the story. And then the bad news for Hegseth is a lot of attorneys are chiming in on the matter, saying it's textbook war crimes. So we're going to listen to what they have to say as well. Before we do any of this, make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about the story. And without further ado, let's just get a brief refresher. So the Washington Post reported exclusively that Hegseth ordered for their very first Caribbean boat strike, which Trump has been bragging about for months. His order was to kill them all. And after the first strike hit the boat, there were two survivors clinging to the sunken boat. And
extrajudicial is the name for it. Extrajudicial executions, right? It's not legally authorized. It's outside of the justice system's approved punishment for this type of thing, right?
And then they ordered another strike to kill them, and they were inevitably blown up in the water. This is just essentially murder. It's killing people. That's what it is. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave this spoken directive. The order was to kill everybody. A missile screamed.
It can also be the definition can also be like outside of court, meaning like in this case that we're sentencing these people to death outside of court, right? They didn't get their day in court and they were sentenced to death. Then we carried out that sentencing. We're just killing them for being on a boat.
Toward this boat off the Trinidad coast, striking the vessel, igniting a blaze from bow to stern. 4 minutes, commanders watched the boat burning on a live drone feed. As smoke cleared, 2 survivors were clinging. Then the special operations commander overseeing the attack, opening the salvo in the Trump admin's war on suspected drug traffickers in the Western Hemisphere, ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. So this is what Pete said. The 2 men in the water were blown to shreds. His order, which has not been previously reported, is concerning a lot of people. Some current and former U.S. officials and law of war experts have said that the Pentagon's lethal campaign is unlawful and may expose those most directly involved, as in Pete Hegseth, to future prosecution. And that brings us, and there's more to that story. I'd highly recommend you read the Washington Post article, but I do want to get into the statement from Pete Hegseth, which is the official statement coming from him. He didn't deny central aspects of the story, but as expected, he said the fake news is delivering more fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory reporting to discredit our incredible warriors fighting to protect the homeland. They're not discrediting warriors, they're discrediting you because you've done something wrong. As we've said from the beginning and in every statement, these highly effective strikes are specifically intended to be lethal kinetic strikes. So he's admitting to the intent being to kill people. Okay, the declared intent is to stop lethal.
It would seem like the argument would not be that they're trying to be lethal kinetic strikes, but like the strikes are to disable the vessels and destroy the product, and the deaths just happen to coincide with that, right?
Drugs, destroy terrorist boats or narco boats, and kill the narco terrorists who are poisoning the American people. Every trafficker we kill is affiliated with a designated terrorist organization, except according to this reporting from the Washington Post, they didn't know that. And that boat likely did not have every single person on board doing something wrong, smuggling some illicit substances. And that's according to experts in this field. He said the Biden administration preferred the kid gloves approach, allowing millions of people to flood our communities with illicit substances and
Yeah, who's to say that like 11 people on board, who's to say that like 5 of them aren't the drug runners and the rest of them are just like looking for transportation, right?
violence, which again is not true. The Trump admin has sealed the border, yada, yada, yada. Our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful, so you can see he's panicking a little bit under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. Our warriors in Southcom put their lives on the line every day to protect the homeland from terrorists. And
I hate this. I hate when they hide behind soldiers. Like, our warriors are doing the best and the media is trying to... No, we're talking about you, motherfucker. You and the administration. You can't hide behind the soldiers. Of course, we've got great soldiers.
Always have their back. Yeah, except Pete is making illegal orders here to kill everybody on board a ship. I mean, like, you don't have to be a lawyer and expert of the law to just conceptualize that if you have two survivors, putting aside the strike on the boat in the first place, which is legally dubious, but if you have two survivors who are unarmed and they're not posing any immediate threat to any American, you can't just strike them again. That's just murder. You're just killing people at that point. And Pete Hegseth seems to be defending that decision in this statement. And he then followed that up with another statement saying, we've only just begun.
I mean, it's almost as bad as like seeing a police video, right? And someone's got a gun, they tell them to drop the gun, they drop the gun, and then they shoot them in the fucking face.
Do this. So the orders they have, they don't know exactly who's on the boat. They don't know exactly what they're doing. They don't know if they're affiliated with terrorist groups, despite Pete Hegseth saying that they are. They don't have intel to confirm that. And then when there are survivors, they strike them again. That seems like a problem to me.
That's another issue they're going to have in court is how can they both say, like, we know that they're terrorists, right, part of this group, but we also don't know who they are. Right, we don't know their names, we don't know who they are, but we know they're terrorists.
Legally, and Pete Hegseth is quite literally admitting to it here. He also said it here. I imagine these posts will inevitably be used against him if there's ever a future trial. But as I mentioned, lawyers are chiming in on this, and people who actually understand the law, which...
2 survivors were clinging to the smoldering wreck. The Special Operations Commander, overseeing the September 2nd attack, ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. As 2 men clung to a stricken, burning ship, targeted by SEAL Team 6, the Joint Special Operations Commander followed the Defense Secretary's order to leave no survivors. That's the Washington Post. That's the paywalled one. Hold on, I'll see if I can get it. That's so fucking bad, dude. God damn.
Obviously does not include Pete Hegseth, are sounding the alarm. This is very serious. This is not something to sweep under the rug or it's just, foreign policy decisions. These are crimes that are being committed. Ryan Goodman said textbook war crime / extrajudicial killing. He followed it up with a quote from Todd Huntley, a former military lawyer who advised Special Operations Forces for 7 years at the height of the U.S. counterterrorism campaign. He said, quote, before the article, killing any of the men in the boats amounts to murder. Ryan Goodman also followed it up with, it's unfathomable that USG lawyers would sign off on a no survivors boat strike, no get out of jail free card. Of course, there's clear precedent dating back to World War II trials of Germans for that very act, which lawyers know well. The Pelleas World War II war crimes trials. Of course, absolutely. Here's Adam Kinzinger, who of course served in Congress and in the military, said, wow, illegal as it gets, a distressed airman or sailor is a target only to be rescued. And exactly, I mean, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are acting as the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Again, we do not know for 100% certainty if any or all of the people in the boat or any are committing crimes. And if they are and there are survivors, why would you not go pick them up and prosecute them unless you actually want to kill them, unless you want to kill, right? I mean, the law is pretty clear on this. Here's another one from Kinzinger.
Imagine if we're really trying to stop them, if we're really trying to find out about this, if we're really trying to shut down drug trafficking, we would use them for intelligence, no? The alleged traffickers pose no imminent threat of attack against the United States and are not, as the Trump administration has tried to argue, in any armed conflict with the U.S. These officials and experts say, because there's no legitimate war between the two sides, killing any of the men in the boats amounts to murder, said Todd Huntley, a former military lawyer who advised Special Operations Forces for 7 years at the height of the U.S. counterterrorism campaign. Even if the U.S. were at war with the traffickers in order to kill all the boat's occupants if they were no longer able to fight, would in essence be in order to show no quarter. You cannot do that. Right? You see it from like pirate movies, right? No quarter, which would be a war crime, said Huntley, now director of the National Security Law Program at Georgetown Law. Like, I don't think these career military lawyers are just coming out and fucking lying. Imagine even giving that. A missile screamed off the Trinidad coast, striking the vessel and igniting a blaze from bow to stern. For minutes, commanders watched the boat burning on live drone feed. As the smoke cleared, they got a jolt. 2 survivors were clinging to the outside of the smoldering wreck. The Special Operations Commander overseeing the September 2nd attack, the opening salvo in the Trump administration's war on suspected drug traffickers in the Western Hemisphere, ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. 2 people familiar with the matter said the 2 men were blown apart in the water. Some current and former U.S. officials and law of war experts have said that the Pentagon's lethal campaign, which has killed more than 80 people today, is unlawful and may expose those most directly involved to future prosecution. I mean, I'm sure Trump is going to try to pardon them on the way out, but god damn, dude. This also tells us why they're so upset about the Democratic lawmakers saying, don't take illegal orders. I knew something. Why did they make that video? Because they knew something like this was about to come out.
To be clear, the U.S. would have been obligated to rescue these stranded individuals, not murder them. The commander who gave the order is probably really nervous right now. Here's another one from George Conway, of course, an attorney. This would be a war crime even if there were an actual war and these people were actual combatants, which there isn't and there weren't. It's unquestionably...
Right. None of them are justified. Right? None of them. But it's even worse when they're targeting survivors that are floating on the side, clinging to the side of a boat, just floating in the water.
Unlawful homicide under any form of law you wish to apply, military or civilian, domestic or international, federal or state, flat out murder by any reasonable definition you can come up with. You're seeing a pretty consistent theme here. Here's Aaron Parnas, a former attorney, an attorney as well, obviously right now. As someone who studied international law, this is textbook denial of quarter. This is a war crime, which is essentially what we're describing here with, having these folks stranded, these people that were on the boat stranded, clinging to the boat. They are defenseless. They're not posing a threat and just killing them with another strike. Here's Elaine Luria, who I want to point out is a former U.S. Navy commander and now a member of Congress, saying this is a clear violation of the DoD's own law of war manual and the Geneva Convention, and Congress must act. And I agree they should. Here's Miles Taylor, who used to serve in the Trump admin, but of course was one of the whistleblowers who sounded the alarm on his illegal acts, saying Hegseth should be charged with murder, actually. And here's the hypocrisy of MAGA, right? They claim that they love these strikes that Donald Trump is issuing on these boats in the Caribbean because they're bad guys moving drugs into the United States. And of course, we don't want any bad guys bringing drugs into the United States, but this is not the way to go about it. But they defend these strikes. And if that's their standard, then why are they simultaneously defending Donald Trump, who posted this on social media today, saying if Tito S4 wins president of Honduras, then he will pardon former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who he says has been treated unfairly, except this is a guy who was convicted last year of trafficking.
But then in October, we do give quarter to them, the way that we're actually supposed to be carrying this out.
Drug trafficking, more than 400 tons of illicit substances into the United States. He was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison, and Donald Trump is saying he will pardon him if this guy wins the election in Honduras. So they're okay with strikes on boats in the Caribbean because it's getting rid of drugs, while Donald Trump is simultaneously pardoning somebody actually convicted of bringing these substances into the United States.
When 2 survivors emerged from the wreckage, a special operations commander overseeing the attack ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions to, quote, kill everybody. Textbook war crime, extrajudicial. When I try to say it fast, I can't. Extrajudicial killing. Wow.
States. Seems bad, seems hypocritical, but the overall point here is that Pete Hegseth and the people around him are in a lot of trouble for what they did here and for what they did surrounding the story.
We don't even need a net. You realize we've done this work for the last 20 fucking years, right? Law enforcement and the Coast Guard show up, point weapons at them, board the vessels. We arrest or repatriate anybody on the boat. We seize everything else and take it. We've done it for years and years and years and years and years. Now, and it's pretty fucking effective, right? Because we have things they don't, like night vision and sonar and radar and subs and cruisers and fucking destroyers and SWIC boats or whatever. It's pretty goddamn effective. But for some reason, Trump wants the theatrics of blowing up not only the boats, but then any survivors that are just floating in the fucking water.
Substances into the United States. He was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison, and Donald Trump is saying he will pardon him if this guy wins the election in Honduras. So they're okay with strikes on boats in the Caribbean because it's getting rid of drugs, while Donald Trump is simultaneously pardoning somebody actually convicted of bringing these substances into the United States. Seems bad, seems hypocritical, but the overall point here...
Imagine the same thing. Imagine your son or your husband or somebody that you care about loses their fucking mind, okay? Loses their fucking mind, and they go on a rant, they've got a gun, you have no choice but to call the police on them. The police show up, and they say they exit their vehicle, and they've got a gun. They're threatening to kill the police or kill themselves or something. They're waving it around. The police tell them to drop the gun. They literally drop the gun, and then the police shoot them in the fucking face. That's what it amounts to. These are shipwrecks. They have no ability to fight back. They have no ability to run. You cannot just say no quarter. You have to. International law of armed conflict says you have to. Like I said, even when I was overseas, and even when we basically knew that people were trying to blow us up with suicide vests, by surrendering, we still had to honor their surrender. Someone came up to us after fighting us, they laid down their weapon, and they're like, I want to surrender. We just had to come up with ways to do it to where we didn't put ourselves in so much danger. So we'd make them come up. They had to pull up their clothing. We had them spin around. We had to get down to bare skin. We'd have them come a little bit closer. We'd have them face away where they couldn't see what we were doing. We'd have to pat them the fuck down. We had to do all these extra steps because we had to honor the fact that they were no longer combatants.
Is that Pete Hegseth and the people around him are in a lot of trouble for what they did here and for what they did surrounding the story. It will not end well for them. There must be accountability, and I'm hoping that Congress intervenes and acts. But look, I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world that you are here. Make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment. Let me know what you think about the story. Have an amazing rest.
We don't need net guns. I don't know
folks,
what you're not understanding. We don't need net guns. I don't foresee that working. First of all, we don't need net guns. There's a whole process that's what the Coast Guard is for, is to board vessels. That's what they do. I can't even remember at all a time when there was like, oh, well, the Coast Guard was boarding this narco vessel and fucking 2 of them died. They got shot in the face. It just doesn't happen. They just board the vessel. The people are like the lowest of the low, and this they're not trying to fight. They're trying to avoid, right? They're not trying to fight. They're not trying to get in a gunfight. A lot of times they're not even fucking armed. As soon as our boats pull up, they just give the fuck up. That's it.
Huge. For months on this show,
I don't know what this one is. I just accidentally clicked on it.
Attempt to redistrict across the United States to rig the game in 2026, cheat the elections because they know that Donald Trump is unpopular. And of course, Donald Trump has been involved in these discussions, pressuring certain Republican states to do so.
I don't know that it's better. I've never seen a fucking you're coming up with weapons that don't seem to exist and tactics that don't exist and saying they're better. Boarding the vessel is the option. It's the only option. That's the reason you don't think if we had a specific net gun that traps boats to the ocean, we would be using that? What if we had a teleporter beam that put them on a base that we had on the moon until we could go up there and see what they were doing? And we just fire this teleporter beam at them. And then we'd send a rocket to the moon and be like, hey, were you guys trying to smuggle drugs?
But it seems like his plan to redistrict in very MAGA states just hit a major bump in the road because of him. He did it. He messed his own plan up accidentally, and the entire goal to cheat in 2026 is coming crumbling down right before our very eyes. So I want to cover this story for you because the announcement we just got is major. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about the story, and without further ado, let's get into it. So first and foremost, I do want to start here with the fact that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is set to huddle with Indiana Republicans next week via Zoom to talk about redistricting in the state. Now, this has been an ongoing saga because Indiana was flirting with redistricting, then they said that they're not going to redistrict, and that was kind of their stance for many months. Now they're thinking about redistricting again. It's been back and forth. And so this article is pretty important. Mike Johnson is expected to huddle via conference call with Indiana House Republicans this weekend ahead of their upcoming state House session to redraw congressional maps. And you notice the difference between what Republicans are doing and what Democrats are doing. I mean, Republicans like Mike Johnson, like Donald Trump, the White House, are intimately involved in the redistricting of different states, whereas Democratic states are doing it on a state-by-state basis. It's the people in these states who have a say. I mean, think about Gavin Newsom with his initiative that just won on the ballot. Overwhelmingly, it was the people that voted to redistrict, not these Republicans who are having backroom meetings or anything like that. It's just the difference.
Oh shit, something froze. Hold on.
Oh, the Republicans are doing it. The meeting ahead of next week's session represents an escalation of Johnson's involvement in mid-cycle redistricting, a process, of course, driven by Trump and the White House. He has routinely said it's an issue for individual states and one in which he has no direct involvement. No direct involvement, except he's meeting with state-level elected officials via Zoom to talk about redistricting. Okay, for sure. House Republicans are expected to talk with Johnson on a conference call at 1 p.m. These are House Republicans in the state of Indiana. A spokesperson for Johnson did not respond to requests for comment. Politico reported last week that Johnson called GOP Indiana Senate President pro tempore Roderick Bray after Bray, whose caucus has largely resisted redistricting, said Senate Republicans would not convene to advance new maps. In the call, Johnson expressed the importance of holding Republicans in the majority in the House ahead of midterms. Indiana Republicans are weighing redistricting their first and
This is what you would call, I guess, a lot of people don't like the term because it's, I guess, misused. But, you know, it's a slippery slope. You're not always going to be in power, right? You're not always going to be in charge. And when we start doing redistricting, I understand redistricting if it was fair and equal around census data, right? Different areas get bigger or smaller, or towns die, towns grow, areas probably need to be redistricted. Doing this out of order and having nothing to do with redistricting and doing it specifically to gerrymander and to crack and pack and all that bullshit. It's a dangerous game to play.
7 congressional districts, which would add 2 seats. But earlier this week, Bray reversed course, the Senate leader, saying his caucus would make a final decision on redistricting when they are expected to reconvene on December 8th. And this is the significant part of the story. House Republicans in Indiana seem pretty intent on redistricting. It's the Senate that has become a problem for them. And it seems like Donald Trump has made the problem even worse, because in his Thanksgiving message, he said something in particular that has put a Republican senator off, that has essentially ruined his plan. So we all saw Donald Trump's late night Thanksgiving message at 11:27 p.m. He put out his first Thanksgiving message and he said, "Very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct." Okay, and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, most of which are on welfare. Not true. From failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drugs cartels. That is also not true. He's just making crap up, but of course that's expected with Donald Trump. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way. Yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. He's ranting about immigration. We can move on. We certainly don't have to hear from Donald Trump every word he writes. As an example, and this is the important part of the story. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Again, not true, but regardless, Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay.
By the way, they knew it was wrong. Listen to this. SEAL Team 6, known formerly as Naval Special Warfare Development Group, and under JSOC command, conducted the intelligence collection and targeting for this attack and several others, according to 2 people. The protocols were changed after this strike to emphasize rescuing suspected smugglers if they survive the strikes, according to 3 people. It is unclear who or why, who directed or why the change was made in protocol and when exactly it took shape. The October 16th strike that killed 2, another 2 men were captured and repatriated to Colombia, which is the way it should be done. I wonder if this also has something to do with Halsey coming in there and saying, "I'm fucking leaving, dude. This is crazy."
Locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously blank governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both. This word right here, this slur that Donald Trump used to describe Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Trump has gotten a lot of political backlash for it, of course, naturally, but he's now getting backlash from his own party for using that word, because we just learned that Republican state senator Michael Boachek, who is a Trump supporter, is now voting against
You know somebody's going to make those videos public, right? And it's going to be horrific. Seeing 2 people cling to the outside of a boat, literally probably close to drowning and dying anyways, and then we blow them the fuck up.
Redistricting, because Donald Trump used this word, and this hit close to home for the senator because his daughter has Down syndrome. And Donald Trump is using this word, has used the word historically, and this has really upset the state senator. So Michael Boachek announced on social media today, and he is obviously a very significant vote in the Indiana Senate. They were already somewhat hesitant on redistricting. Now they can take another vote away from their plans, which make it even harder for Donald Trump. He said, "Many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I've been an unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities since..."
By the way, the navigational hazard bullshit is just a lie, right? There's no way. People don't realize how big the fucking ocean is. And like it's incredibly hard to find like battleships in the fucking ocean. And we're talking about what, a 30-foot speedboat? Bullshit.
Since the birth of my second daughter. Those of you that don't know me or my family might not know that my daughter has Down syndrome. This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. I will be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to...
And you know what the craziest thing? The people that'll be prosecuted for this, because Trump will pardon everybody, the people that be prosecuted for this are people that just took commands. Hey, I was just doing what he told me to. You'll be prosecuted because you won't get the pardon, right? You don't have enough name or clout or whatever. Trump will be out of office. He won't be able to swoop in and rescue you. That'll be the people that get prosecuted. It won't be Hegseth.
Convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority. Wow. A scathing statement that is coming from a Republican directed at Donald Trump. And let's be clear, he's right. I mean, he's right about the use of the word by Donald Trump. That in and of itself is disgusting. But Donald Trump's behavior, the way he talks about people, the way he bullies people, is right in line with what he's saying. He is a bully. He is a bully. He targets people. He uses very insulting words like this, who, you know, it's a slap in the face of so many millions of Americans who are either suffering from an intellectual disability, I should say have an intellectual disability, or family members of said individual. It's insulting. And so Michael Boachek is one of the few Republicans, I think, that's actually standing up to Donald Trump in this moment. And it's a pretty important thing, because not only is Trump's redistricting plan in jeopardy now, even more so than it already was, but Michael Boachek will undoubtedly be getting death threats and targets put on his back from MAGA. So disagree with him on virtually everything. I'm not trying to gas this guy up and pretend that he's a fighter for democracy, because, you know, he's voted for every single Republican plan in Indiana, of course. But this is a significant stand, and I'm thankful for the stand. And now it's on the Democrats to respond, right? We got to get the upper...
The only reason there's not more outrage is it's hard to get people to have compassion when they label them as drug dealers and tell them they're fentanyl and they're killing everybody, right? But that's dangerous in itself. So you're telling me that the government, you're fine with the government just killing random people with no trial, as long as they label them the right way, as long as they say this or that, or they're drug dealers or fentanyl or whatever. That's dangerous in and of itself. What happens when you don't want any investigation of this, you don't want anybody talking about it, you just think it should happen, and they kill a goddamn ferry boat, right? That's just hustling people from one island to the next, and we don't know about it because they labeled them drug dealers. They said they're part of a gang, right? Or a fishing vessel, or somebody on vacation. I said this before. Somebody from the U.S. or the U.K. or some other nation that the United States considers important accidentally is on one of these boats for a joyride on a speedboat while they're on vacation or something and gets killed. That's when shit'll hit the fan.
If Donald Trump wants a fight, a battle, it's on us to do this. Wes Moore in Maryland has launched a redistricting commission after the Senate in the state has actually stopped him. He's very much in favor of redistricting. The Senate Democrats are not. They're getting in his way. And so it's on us to hold these people accountable, support governors like Wes Moore who are trying to put in the work, and let's get it done. If these Indiana Senate Republicans or Indiana House Republicans are going to try to redistrict, or even if they're unsuccessful, they're just attempting, then Democrats got to hit back harder and make sure that we protect our democracy and we can get these Republicans out of office. It is disgusting what they are doing with this redistricting effort. It is disgusting how Donald Trump used that word and, of course, attacked immigrants in that statement. And let's do it. I mean, I'm serious. Let's do it. We can't hold back anymore. To the Democratic governors who are not redistricting, to the Democratic state senators who are not in favor of it, we are watching and we will hold you accountable. So look, I just had to cover the story. It's a major victory for, I think, decency in this country and a major loss for Donald Trump. I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching.
I heard there's a Charlie Kirk song. We are Charlie Kirk. Oh, God. Tom fucking McDonald. Well, that was a remix of some type. Funk, slowed and reverbed. Slowed and reverbed. Slow and reverb. Slowed and reverbed. Why is everything slowed and reverbed? Damn. Oh, I guess because it's slowed and reverbed in the title. I didn't mean to search that. My bad. Original song by Songedly. Powerful song in memory of Charlie Kirk.
Charlie's light is never dimmed. You killed them.
Yeah, it's AI.
Not the fire within. His voice still loud. His message clear.
I wish I got shot in the neck instead of listening to this.
Declare it boldly to all who hear. Let freedom ring.
Blech. Are these all just re-uploads of the exact same song? I've heard this one on TikTok. It's mostly cringe recreations that are like sarcasm, but people are using it normally. I know a lot of people like to do that. I know a lot of people like to get on speedboats and, raise hell and go fast or whatever with locals. And I don't know. Somebody's going to get killed.
Together unbroken, we'll make heaven known. A husband, a father, his family held near. A home built on scripture, on faith without fear.
I'm already sad.
Tried to silence, but his voice remains. Innocent echoes in Christ, it sustains.
Oh, thank you, Q Idiot.
Idiot just resubscribed for 43
almost
months.
4
I
years. That's
vomited this
insane.
Music.
Vomited to the music. Well, at least you're in beat, I guess.
There is something deeply, deeply dark being pushed at the highest level of the Trump administration, and you need to pay attention because they coined a new effed up term and admitted their effed up end goal for an authoritarian United States. So less than 24
hours. Oh, is it remigration?
After 2 National Guard members were tragically shot in the head in Washington, D.C., one passed away, one is still fighting for his life in critical condition. Less than 24 hours after, this administration tries to leverage this as an opportunity to use more authoritarian rhetoric, spin this into a broader national emergency that they can use as a pretext to mobilize more National Guard members. Keep in mind, those National Guard members shouldn't have been there in the first place. These were 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds who were told that they sign up, they get a little bit extra cash, and they get to help their hometown if there is a natural disaster or some sort of emergency throughout the state. Never in this was that you have to sign up and then be transferred over to D.C. to basically act as a police officer. This is a 20-year-old who did not have the training of a police officer, but I digress. Donald Trump is using this as an opportunity to mobilize more 20-year-olds into areas that they didn't grow up in to act as faux police officers. Well, this administration's authoritarian rhetoric got to such a point where they are now admitting that their end goal is something called remigration. This is very serious.
Remigration to the far right means something much different than what it sounds like. That means everybody goes home. If you're a U.S. citizen, but your roots are from wherever, home. Right? Everybody goes home, except for the white European, maybe you have to prove your lineage back to so many years or whatever. But this is not even about citizenship anymore to the far right when they hear remigration. And they use it. That's the way they use it.
Very dangerous and stems from a far right group in Europe that we will talk about in just one moment. The official Homeland Security account on Twitter.
The sworn in thing is a weird red herring. They hadn't been just sworn into the military, which is what for some reason people were saying. Sworn into the National Guard, sworn into the National Guard or whatever. But they actually took a they're like to be an LEO, right, to law enforcement. They were deputized. That's the word I was looking for. They were deputized 24 hours earlier.
Not some random troll, not some random far-right person. It's not Elon Musk. This is the official Department of Homeland Security government account. They tweeted out these words. This is very...
You don't get sworn in for a duty. They were deputized.
Important. Quote, the stakes have never been higher, and the goal has never been more clear. Remigration now. Now, you may be asking, what is this term, remigration? It sounds...
Someone figured it up, Billy, that they would have to have like 7 fuel stops or some shit on the way here.
Innocuous on its face, but it is incredibly...
For some reason, we're blowing them up as soon as they hit international waters.
Authoritarian, anti-American, it strips constitutional rights away, it strips human dignity away, and it's disgusting. This says remigration is a European far-right concept of ethnic cleansing via the mass deportation of non-white minority populations, especially immigrants, and sometimes including those born in Europe and holding European citizenship to their place of racial ancestry. So deporting people to their place of racial ancestry if they're not white. Originating in Europe, the concept has spread...
They just ignore white people, though. They just ignore white people. It depends on who you like. The first video I saw was 15 stops, and someone else did it, I guess, with a different motor, or maybe they were carrying extra fuel on board or some shit like that, and it ended up being 7. But even if you go with a low number of 7, holy shit. Like, we could have just been waiting on them at one of their fuel stops and be like, all right, guys, off the boat. Like, it was so crazy.
Brought to the United States and other...
They ignore white people when they talk about remigration, especially when they use it over, like in Europe. They're just talking about fucking Muslim immigrants, right? If you're white enough to count, they don't care if you're first generation, second generation, third generation. They don't give a fuck, right? It's literally based on looks, and they're like, oh, and accent.
Other countries, and it is popular, especially within the identitarian movement. Some proponents of remigration suggest excluding some persons with non-European backgrounds. We're going to visit this in just one second and talk more about this, but let's go back to what the Department of Homeland Security is posting. This has been pushed by Twitter trolls for a while. The farthest of far-right people on Twitter have been pushing this, but now they are pushing a form of remigration that would necessitate stripping constitutional rights and due process away from all non-white citizens of the United States. This is coming from the Homeland Security account.
All they're going to say, I know this is a big deal, right? They shouldn't have put this out. They shouldn't have used this word. But what they're going to say is like, oh, we just meant it like the people migrated here and they're not here legally, so we're going to send them back to where they legally live. That's what they're going to say. But this is this isn't even a dog whistle. This is just using a term that the far right uses over and over and over again. You're like, hell yeah, let's do it now.
By the way, and either people aren't paying attention or the mainstream media isn't covering this. I personally think a lot of the mainstream media anchors don't fully understand what remigration fully is. They can read this Wikipedia entry, but I've been in these online circles, not participating in them, but my job is being online in politics. So I've seen these online circles where they push this type of far-right rhetoric because I track it, I pay attention to it, I read what they say, and it is some dark, dark stuff. Now, before we go on to these far-right groups in Europe, let me just point out what's happening in the United States. This is not a United States that I want to live in, where we have masked men hopping out of cars. This is the
video I showed you the other day where they just chased that guy around, and he's clearly American.
Crazy, crazy stuff. If you are vaguely Republican or you voted for Trump, which a lot of people who watch the show do, it's fine. It doesn't matter how you voted. Or if you are a conservative or a far-right MAGA Republican, no matter where you lie on the political spectrum, nowhere in America should there be masked men who don't identify themselves, who refuse to show their faces, hopping out of cars and trying to grab American citizens. Watch this clip.
What's going on? What's up with you?
I don't even think it's a good excuse that they're being doxxed. Regular police are doxxed all the time. We don't let them go around masked up and no badge and no name tape and no nothing. The military gets doxxed all the time, right? National Guardmen, all these people get doxxed, and we don't let them go around with masks and pulling their name tape out, no name, no badge, no nothing, no identification.
What's up, man? What's up with me? I don't know what they on with me, bro. I got
you can tell just by listening to him talk, he's American.
cameras. I got cameras, y'all tweaking. You got the right to what? Y'all got the right to what?
I think he probably just said something to him or they didn't like being recorded or some shit.
They are legitimately chasing this guy down. This guy is a U.S. citizen, and he's going on a walk in his neighborhood, a nice neighborhood, lovely. Well, it's kind of a wet day out, but it looks like otherwise a nice day to go on a walk, and he's being chased down by guys in masks. This is crazy. So we already have authoritarianism at our doorstep here, knocking on the door saying, we are going to grab you, and then the DHS Gov decides to escalate. This is some crazy shit. So a lot of these far-right people, the people in this administration, people like Stephen Miller, they believe that America is based on identity or being white, when that is not true. America is based on some foundational...
There's been a bunch of people arrested for pretending to be us. Kidnapping people, fucking people's lives up, or trying to arrest people. It's pretty rampant.
Ideas. America is based on governing ourselves, individual liberty, thinking freely, democracy, choosing your own destiny, meritocracy. There's a lot of stuff with democracy in America that is beautiful. None of it was ever just simply being whites. Let's watch this. This guy from the UK laying out his view for what remigration is and isn't. This gives you some...
In fact, the FBI had to put out a statement warning people that there are people going around pretending to be ICE agents. This guy's going to talk about remigration here.
Context.
I've seen this before.
Came over illegally. I do not care if they came over legally. I do not care if they were born here. I do not care if their grandparents were born here. These people have to leave. This is not their lands. This is ours, and we will not tolerate it. So remigration, what is it? To simplify, remigration is the act and/or process of returning immigrants to their country of origin. Now, there are a number of people and organisations that will tell you remigration is only deporting the illegal immigrants and the foreign criminals and voluntary repatriation. That is a lie. That is not what remigration is.
That's a lie. So illegals and criminals, that's a lie. We want them all gone.
Migration is reversing our demographic decline by any means necessary. There is no person in this country that does not belong here that has the right to demographically replace us. We will not tolerate that under any circumstances.
Under any circumstance. He says later on that it's going to be violent.
By any means necessary.
It is not going to be peaceful whatsoever. Then Donald Trump makes a post essentially endorsing this crazy ideology. He wrote his long True Social on Thanksgiving that honestly read more like Stephen Miller wrote it. He writes about a bunch of stuff, calls Tim Walz retarded, but then it was...
Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, and all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process.
At one point, he says, I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries. This is a big part that we're going to talk about. He says, I'm going to terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's AutoPen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is
Only reverse migration can fully cure this situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving.
public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization.
Fucking president's a joke.
Achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can fully cure.
He's mad. I'll show you the video in a second. He's mad because he wanted to blame this Afghan national that shot the National Guard on Joe Biden, and we find out that his asylum was approved under Trump. Under Trump's administration, approved his asylum.
For this situation. Sarah Longwell from the Bulwark says, sit with this for a second. Trump is talking about taking away citizenship for naturalized citizens who, by some totally arbitrary definition, quote unquote, undermine domestic tranquility. So a naturalized parent or spouse of a U.S. born citizen who is critical of Trump could be threatened if he deems that they undermine domestic tranquility. Everything he says is also just contradictory. He says he's going to deport and denaturalize people who also are not a net asset to the United States, but immigrants are almost always, by definition, net assets to the United States because they're not taking in welfare. Oftentimes they are younger people who are working, contributing taxes, and not taking any welfare. But then he says he is going to end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens, which there really aren't any to non-citizens. So you're going to remove anybody who is taking in more than they are producing, but then you're going to remove their ability to take in anything. So they're all going to be necessarily producing more than they take in. Very, very contradictory. While
Trump also said he's going to undo all of the stuff signed by Joe Biden's auto pen, and claiming that he didn't know about him, but all Biden has to do is say, I knew about him. And Trump says, well, Biden says that, then we're going to bring him up on perjury charges. Bullshit. He's not going to undo. He can't. All Biden has to do is say, yes, I authorize that.
all of this is happening, and while Donald Trump is causing a fuss about this, he then posted this insane post where he pardons somebody and tries to bury the lead. I want you to pay attention to this. He said, if Tito Esfero wins for president of Honduras because the United States has so much confidence in him, his policies, and what he will do, we will be very supportive. If he doesn't win, the United States will not be throwing good money after bad because a wrong leader can only bring catastrophic results to a country. So he's right there just influencing the results of another election. He says Tito will be a great president. Additionally, I will be granting a full and complete pardon to former President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who has been, according to many people I respect, treated very unfairly. Then he then says, vote for Tito, vote for Tito. But this is what this says. On July 1st of 2021, Hernandez, who Trump is pardoning, had his visa revoked by the U.S. Department of State due to involvements in corruption and the illegal drug trade. This measure was made public on 7th of February 2022, less than 2 weeks after he was succeeded by another Castro. On the 14th of February, he was surrounded by the National Police and DEA agents at his home after the U.S. government had requested his extradition for his involvement with narcotics. In 2022, he agreed to surrender to U.S. authorities. And then in 2024...
Listen to this. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people. Okay? The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people by the census. Then Trump says most of that 53 million, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. And there's still people saying he's not racist. 53 million people, and he's saying most of which are on welfare, failed nations, prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. Holy fuck.
He was convicted of 3 counts of drug trafficking and weapons conspiracy, and Trump just pardoned this guy. Trump has no actual morals. He doesn't actually care about drug traffickers, people bringing weapons or drugs into this country, making it less safe. He doesn't actually care about anything other than his own end goal. Now, what we see are people like Stephen Miller steering the ship for their own racist end goals. I mean, let's read a little bit about this more. Presented by its proponents as a remedy to mass migration and the perceived Islamization of Europe.
Wait. It gets worse. Then he says, as an example, hundreds of thousands. Oh, wait, I lost my place. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congressman/woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into the USA illegally, in that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she is treated when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for lack of government, military, police, and schools. He's becoming more and more unhinged as time passes. It's fucking insane.
Remigration has increasingly become an integral policy position of the identitarian movement and other far-right political movements, and it's now being pushed by our own DHS Gov. Sick, twisted shit. I'm gonna leave it there. If you appreciate this, drop a like, subscribe. I love you all, and peace out.
This is the one I was talking about. Look at this. So again, the guy from Afghanistan, what he did was horrible. I'm not defending it, and I'm not saying he's a great guy or whatever. He clearly snapped and something went wrong. He worked with the CIA for years, ran a special team that did like cash drops in prison, exchanges, all kinds of crazy shit with the CIA. And he was brought through on a program that basically brings in people that helped us overseas. A lot of people from Afghanistan and Iraq. Like, if you help us overseas, there's like a fast track to get in. Okay, he got in. Then he filed for asylum. It's a partner program. But then he filed for asylum under Biden. He got in under Biden. He filed for asylum under Biden. Under Trump, his asylum was approved. But there is no man, there is no immigrant in this country that had been as thoroughly, Trump can't blame it on vetting immigrants. There is no immigrant in this country that's been more thoroughly vetted than this guy.
I just want to thank you for that.
Okay? He worked hand in hand with our CIA. He came through on a partner program, which has pretty high fucking standards to begin with, for like criminal and mental background and shit like that. He filed for asylum with one administration and was approved under another administration. You cannot say he wasn't vetted, but that's what Trump wants to say. He got on a plane and nobody vetted him, and Biden let him in, and they didn't even check to see who these people are. That's a outright lie. And if that were true, when his asylum thing come up, why didn't his Trump administration refuse his asylum claim and deport him? Because it's not true.
Donald Trump just had a disastrous press conference on Thanksgiving. He slammed his hand onto the table when he was asked a very basic question like, isn't it true that you granted this shooter in Washington, D.C. asylum in April? Wasn't it you who did that? And he slams his hand down and he runs away. Here, play this clip.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, this is after we learned the tragic news that the 20-year-old National Guardswoman Sarah Beckstrom tragically passed away from the shooting. But what Donald Trump wanted to do during this press conference is just continue to yell and rant and scream and call the reporter stupid. A reporter talked about how the shooter was fully vetted back in 2021. Let me show you what went down. Here, play this clip.
So your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with...
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?
thousands of other people that shouldn't be here.
Did you hear right there that he called the reporter stupid right there? Next, let me show you right here what goes down when Donald Trump is asked about him granting asylum to this person. Here's the full clip. Let's play it.
Very much, everybody.
Do you believe that Afghan's asylum claim that is being floated? Of course, you just detailed that this suspect was flown in under the Biden administration. Yeah. But was he granted asylum under your administration?
When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out. No matter how you want to do it, it's very hard to get them out. But we're going to be getting them all out now. Thank you very much.
He was granted asylum under your administration.
And here's the longer clip where Donald Trump attacks the reporter as stupid, and she was asking him a very basic question. Let's play it right here.
A question about this tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people.
So, okay, he went nuts. Let's say that. But why are you saying he wasn't vetted? He was vetted.
You see him? But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens soon.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS. And
extremely thorough vetting. The program is called Operation Allies Welcome or something, Partner Allies Welcome, something like that.
By the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration
for what this man did? Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came into on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out, and we would have gone out because I had everybody ready to go. We were going to go out with strength and dignity and precision, and we would have left from Bagram, and we would have kept Bagram, by the way, because of its very close relationship to China and where they make their missiles. But when you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands,
yeah, I'd probably lose my cool.
But they were incompetent, yeah.
And then Donald Trump just started
one press conference for me. And then he said some shit like that, I'd flip.
Bragging about his golf game. Let me just show it to you. Here, play this clip.
I know a lot about golf. I won 38 club championships, and I don't get to practice much. I won one last year. I won a club championship at a big club, beating a 27-year-old kid. I said, I'm decades older than you, but I said, the fairway doesn't know how old you are as you walk up the middle, and he's in the rough. And I've been a good golfer over the years. When you win, club championships are our major.
This is dementia kicking in. Right.
You know that. Most people can't play in them. We're talking about no strokes or anything else. So I'm a very low handicap, and I've won 38 of them legitimately, everyone legitimately.
By the way, that clip goes on for about 3.5 minutes. Of course, I'm not going to play the rest of the clip, but that's what went down here. Then Donald Trump talks about how he personally is now designing the Coast Guard ships, the cutters, the boats, and he goes, I'm an aesthetic person, so I change the way it looks. Here, play this clip.
This is all of these places that got hit by the hurricanes and all of the different, the storms, the big water storms, as they call them, but mostly hurricanes.
Why would we care about the aesthetics of a warship?
The jobs you do, the way you go into those seas, I wouldn't want to do it. You want to do it, but I wouldn't want to do it.
By the way, Trump is now only taking press interaction between the hours of noon to 5 p.m. because reportedly that's the only hours he can stay up.
And I just want to thank you for that. As you know, we've ordered a lot of Coast Guard cutters.
Yes, that was his plan, Walter. Biden was just trying to meet his timeline, and it was a disaster, but at the time Trump signed that agreement, it was a disaster. Remember, he wanted to bring them to fucking the Presidential Air Force Base and have them hang out and shit. It was the people advising him, the generals advising him at the time said this is impossible. The only thing Biden was trying to do was keep up Trump's fucking plan. Biden had two options, right? Either keep Trump's plan and keep peace, right? Hopefully there wouldn't be any bombings or attacks or kidnappings, or break that plan and know that there was going to be bombings, attacks, and kidnappings and maybe not get another plan. But I'm not going to say Biden made the greatest decision, but it was his hand about the timing and when it happened and what we're going to take. And Trump signed off on giving up. He keeps talking about keeping Kandahar, the Kabul airstrip. Trump signed to give that away already. Trump signed the deal. They gave the Kabul airfield away. And then he's like, I would have kept it. You already signed that. You're the one who made the agreement, dude.
It's brand new, beautiful, the best machines in the world, the fastest.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Best maneuverability. They tell me. I said, "How's the speed and the maneuverability?" I'm a looks person. I wanted the hull to be perfect. I sort of redesigned the hull a little bit, the hulls. But we ordered a lot, and we're ordering icebreakers too that you're going to be in charge of. We have 11 of them being built right now. We had none. We only have one in the whole country. Russia has 48, and we have one, and that's
what. This is a lie, first of all. Why would Russia have more icebreaker ships than the United States would have? The U.S. has 3, okay? Why would Russia have more icebreakers than the United States would? Because they operate in an environment that has a shit ton of fucking ice. Holy fuck. We have 3 current, okay? We have a heavy icebreaker and 2 medium icebreakers that we use, and they're operated by the Coast Guard.
just ridiculous. So
then he starts ranting and raving about the Somalis, and he says, I don't like Somalian people, and they're very dangerous, and they're ruining Minnesota. And the reporter's like, what does this have to do with anything? I mean, the shooter was Afghan. He worked in the military. He worked in the military for 10 years with the CIA and fully vetted. Like, what does this have to do with anything? But he attacks Somalian people from Minnesota. Here, play this clip.
What does Somalians have to do with this Afghan guy who shot the national?
Nothing, but Somalians have caused a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country and our Constitution. And she comes from a country with practically no country. It's devastated. It's crime-ridden. It's a mess. It's a
That's right. They hate the us.
And then he keeps going on about Somalis and how he hates Somalian people and how he thinks they're all criminals. It's racist and despicable. And this is what he's saying on Thanksgiving. Let's play it.
I think even before Trump, we had 3 more that were supposed to come into operation in like 2030 or 2035 or some shit like that. But we just don't do a whole lot. The ones we have for the Coast Guard now are literally used to do like Arctic missions and shit, right? Like resupplies and transport and shit like that. Like, we're not war fighting with them.
Many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are people that shouldn't be here. And many of them have been gotten out. I mean, we've gotten out a lot of the people that,
But it would be so easy to get that contract from Trump, right? If you're a shipbuilder and you come to him and say, hey, we want to build these incredibly expensive icebreakers, right? And you say, well, the U.S. only has 1 large class and 2 medium class. So you know how many Russia has? You know how many Russia has? 48. Do you want to be second in icebreakers? Of course not. So now you got an endless contract, a blank check.
We've taken a lot of them out of here.
But
they came in,
legally, right?
Yeah, I know. Many are wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure.
I said many are here legally, though. What should they think?
The people that,
Thanksgiving, let's play it.
Many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are people that shouldn't be here. And many of them have been gotten out. I mean, we've gotten out a lot of the people that, we've taken a lot of them out of here.
But
they came in,
legally, right?
Yeah, I know. Many are wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure.
I said many are here legally, though. What should they think?
Not many of our presidents are convicted felons. That's true.
Well, they can't be happy, okay? They can't be happy because what's taking place between that, if you look at Somalia, they're taking over Minnesota, and we got a lot of problems with the gangs, with all of the things taking place in Minnesota. We have an incompetent governor, we have a dope governor. They can't be happy about what's going on. And if you talk about the Afghans, there's a problem because so many Bedouins came in on the planes. They just walked in. Whoever the strongest people were physically in a way, but whoever the strongest they got on the planes, there was no checking. They just swamped the plane.
That's not at all true.
They took off.
You had to have credentials to even get there, right?
We had no idea who they were.
Next, a reporter asked Donald if he's going to be attending the funeral of the National Guardswoman who was killed, and he said, maybe because West Virginia voted for me. Let's play it.
It's in the early stages, obviously, but do you plan to attend Sarah's funeral?
I haven't thought about it yet, but it certainly is something I could conceive of. I love West Virginia. I won West Virginia by one of the biggest margins of any president anywhere. And it's, these are great people. I love the people of West Virginia. I love the
because they voted for you. I might go to this woman's funeral.
People of our country, but I haven't given it any thought, but it sounds like something I could do. Yeah, it's very raw.
Then Trump says you can't use the word Indian anymore. Let me show it to you.
To the Mohawks, that's our squadron motto. Chop.
Oh, good. I love it. Chop. See, we're not allowed to do that anymore. We're not allowed. You're not allowed to use the word Indian anymore. The only one that wants you to are the Indians. All right. I don't think you should ever.
Next, Donald Trump claims that National Guard members were shot in D.C.
Yeah. God damn, dude.
Because they've been so effective at stopping crime. Here, play this clip.
Safety for National Guardsmen who are being sent into these cities?
No, just I want to have more. As you know, we're sending 500 more. We had very little crime in Washington now for many months, record-setting low crime, and this happened. And I don't know how you put this on the scale of that. This is sort of different. This is a
horrible fucking crime that happened. So, and your no crime is just a fucking lie. That's just not true.
Terrorism threat, and this was done because they're so effective. If they weren't effective, you probably wouldn't have had this done. But this was done because the National Guard has been so effective. You went from having a tremendous amount of crime and death, killing everything else, to having none. And this happened, I assume, because it was so effective. And maybe this man was upset because...
This happened because it was so effective at stopping crime. Crime happened because we're so effective at stopping crime.
He couldn't practice crime. Who knows what his motivation was? But what he did was horrible.
And you've made changes for Afghanis.
Then on state regime media on Fox, they had people like Nancy Mace say, this shooting never would have happened if Trump was in office. He's in office. He granted asylum for the shooter in April. Like, what are we talking about? Play this clip.
Well, two things. One, I do agree with Kash Patel on this. But number one, this would never have happened with President Trump in the Oval Office. Number two, President Trump is fixing the grave mistakes and travesties under the Biden administration. And I'm just honored that I'm in Congress to watch and witness what he's doing to save our country. We're going to be so much better off for it. Thank you, Mr. President.
And then Donald Trump's communications team starts cursing out reporter. Stephen Chung says, respectfully shut the F up for trying to politicize this tragedy. And it was just somebody, a reporter, Jane Mayer, saying
This is so tragic, so unnecessary. These poor guardsmen should never have been deployed. I live in D.C. and watched as they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. It was for political show, and at what cost? Jane respectfully shut the fuck up trying to politicize this tragedy.
This is so tragic, so unnecessary. These poor guardsmen should never have been deployed. I live in D.C. and watched as they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. It was for a political show, and at what cost? And the head of Trump's communication team says, respectfully shut the F up, and actually curses. By the way, Donald Trump made no Thanksgiving post today at all. Didn't say happy Thanksgiving, no message. He did post about a golfer who passed away and said a truly remarkable person and a great golfer who will be truly missed. Then the post before that was from the other day where Donald Trump talked about his polling numbers and said that his polls remain strong, despite the fact that we know Donald Trump's polling is as horrible as can be. Earlier in the morning, Kash Patel talked about how he was asked, so is it true that the shooter got asylum in 2025 by Trump? And he's like, well, you're going to have to ask Kristi Noem that question. Here, play this clip.
So he shares this. This is what he shares from this McLaughlin poll, which only asked about 1,000 people. He shares this snippet. President Donald Trump remains with strong approval at 50%. Now let me read you the whole article. The results of our latest national survey of 1,000 likely voters reveal a mixed and increasingly challenging landscape for Republicans heading into the midterms. While Donald Trump remains with strong approval at 50%, Democrat attacks are showing erosion in support among independents. The surprising outcome in this year's odd year November election sharply shifted political betting markets. On November 1st, Republicans and Democrats were essentially even, projected to control the House. Today, though, the odds have swung dramatically, now giving Democrats a 73% chance of controlling both the House and the Senate. But the one clip he shares out of that, the one little snippet, is that they showed that he still has 50% approval. But everything else is bad for him in the entire fucking poll. Only 38% of voters believe the nation is headed in the right direction. 56% say it's on the wrong track. Among the key groups, the pessimism is even more pronounced. 70% of independents and 66% of undecided congressional voters believe the country is on the wrong path currently. Republicans must establish a clear, consistent message of optimism in contrast to what many perceive as Democratic and media-driven pessimism. It's just bad. The whole thing was bad for Republicans, and he shared this little snippet of, it still looks like he might have 50% approval. All right, Kash Patel.
And Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll let that speak for themselves. Yes, I believe Kristi Noem put that out, and that's a DHS matter, and I'll refer to them.
And just so we're very clear about what Donald
and
that the shooter, that we know Donald Trump's polling is as horrible as can be. Earlier in the morning, Kash Patel talked about how he was asked, so is it true that the shooter got asylum in 2025 by Trump? And he's like, well, you're going to have to ask Kristi Noem that question. Here, play this clip.
And Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll let that speak for themselves.
The answer is yes.
Yes, I believe Kristi Noem put that out, and that's a DHS matter, and I'll refer to them.
And just so we're very clear about what Donald Trump's actual polling is, let's play this clip right here from Harry Enton, and it talks about what his polling is.
Data analyst Harry Enton is here on this special Friday. It's been a tough few days for the president in the polls.
Yeah, John Berman, I would say this is probably the worst 10-day period
period for the president in the polls his entire second term. The numbers are just atrocious. What are we talking about here in terms of net approval rating? Well, take a look. These are all November polls. The best one of the group puts him at 14 points underwater. That's the Marquette University Law School poll, tied for the worst he's ever had in that poll. Fox, 17 points underwater. Marist, 17 points underwater. The Reuters Ipsos poll, 22 points underwater. And then taking the cake, the AP North poll, 26 points underwater. When your best poll has you still 14 points underwater, you know it's truly bad, and it's as bad as 26 points underwater. We're talking about an average well underwater with the deep blue sea, swimming with the fishes.
And now this is all parties here. If you think this is bad, Harry.
If you think this is bad, what is driving these horrific numbers for Donald Trump? Well, why don't we take a look at independents, Trump's net approval rating with independents. Back in January, he was close to even. He was at -4 points. Not great, but not terrible. Look at this number, 43 points underwater with independents in the most recent average of these polls. When you have 43 points underwater with independents, you know you're doing terribly. You can't win with this. If this holds for next year's midterm election, wave adios amigos, goodbye. See you later to that House Republican majority and that Senate Republican majority, very much in danger as well. When you take a look at the Pew Research validated voter survey going back to last year, he was basically even among independents with Kamala Harris. Now he is 43 points underwater. Whatever he is doing with independents, it ain't working.
Dude, I don't know. Like, I know there's going to be people that say, like, once we get the House and the Senate, like, we need to just try to make peace and not get all the rhetoric going and political. I wanted fucking investigations, dude. I want fucking, yeah, sure, Trump might pardon them. I want it on paper what the fuck they did.
They despise him at this point.
That is just a colossal.
Oh my God, it's a 40-point move.
Okay, that's among.
I want to make examples. So the next fucking Republican comes in doesn't think that he can just be fucking killing people for no reason and snatching people up just for being brown enough.
Certain political groups here. How about what issues may be driving this?
Okay, yeah. So we say that independents are driving Trump's decline overall, but what is pushing independents and the rest of the electorate away from Donald Trump? Away from Donald Trump. John Berman, move out of the screen. Away from Donald Trump. Well, it has everything to do with inflation. It's the cost of living, baby. That is the name of the game. You go back to January, he was 3 points above water. This was the reason why that voters gave him a second term. You look at this. Look at this. Now 34 points underwater. My goodness gracious, that is a 37-point move in the wrong direction.
Finally, while Donald Trump was holding that press conference, you had Vladimir Putin holding a press conference.
Trump can say everything's less expensive all he wants, but people are still spending money. Like, we're spending more on groceries now than I think we ever fucking have. Right? Mariah went to the grocery store and got our usual thing as often as she goes, and it was for the first time ever over $600.
And Putin said that the only way Russia will ever agree to any type of peace deal with Ukraine is if Ukraine gives up all of its eastern territories and removes its military.
So impeachment is, you can't be pardoned from impeachment. Impeachment is just like, we think he committed a crime. And then it goes over to what the punishment should be, right? And the punishment is when they remove him from office and all that shit.
Military from Ukrainian sovereign territory. Here, play this clip.
Войска Украины уйдут из занимаемых ими территорий, вот тогда и прекратятся боевые действия. Не уйдут, мы добьемся этого вооруженным путем.
Well, that's your update, folks. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. What a horrific press.
Impeachment is it's like bringing charges, basically. And then the trial is on the other side and the punishment.
For Donald Trump to have on Thanksgiving. Sorry we even had to watch that, but we have to report on what's going down. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Midas Mighty, it's Ben, Brett, and Jordy, and we just want to thank you for being the backbone of this movement. This year tested us more than ever, but together we...
The House impeaches, and then the Senate does the trial and punishment.
Prove that pro-democracy voices don't just compete, we win. We took on the entire MAGA machine, won a Webby for Podcast of the Year.
The Midas Touch Podcast.
And you were with us every step of the way. And trust us, what we're working on next is bigger, bolder, and built for 20...
Technically, yes. There's no restriction on the power of impeachment. While he's being impeached, he could pardon everybody that he knew the name of, basically.
26. Let's keep this momentum going. Spread the word. We are just getting started. Shout out to the Midas Mighty!
Damn, that's rough. There's, I want to just, it's getting late here, but I did want to show you this. This is a guy we check in with on Donald Trump's dementia updates. So let's see what he's done.
Hell of a press conference last night from this dementia patient who was sundowning on camera. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience in home health care treating geriatric patients with dementia, just like that guy.
I know a lot about golf. I won 38 club championships, and I don't get to practice much. I won one last year. I won a club championship at a big club, beating a 27-year-old kid. I said, you know, I'm decades older than you, but I said, the fairway doesn't know how old you are as you walk up the middle, and he's in the rough. So I'm a very low handicap, and I've won 38 of them legitimately.
I think the reason Trump doesn't get embarrassed, right? So the power to pardon is supposed to be like shame will keep them from doing too much, right? Like they won't want to face the American people, but Trump just doesn't have that shame. right? Biden pardoned a bunch of people on his way out because Trump was literally threatening to put them all in prison. I can't blame him for that, right? Like, if I had the power to protect my family and a guy, like, let's say Bert was going to have the power to arrest and prosecute my family on a bunch of trumped-up charges. And he's like, I'm coming after your son. I'm coming after your wife. I'm coming after your other kid. I'm going to do this, and your dad and your mom and your sisters. Then, of course, I would fucking protect them on my way out. But Trump just has no shame. He'll pardon people, then go on the news. They're like, why did he pardon this guy? And he's like, I don't know him. I don't know what he did. Someone told me that Biden was really mean to him.
Everyone legitimately. It has to be legitimate because you have a lot of people following you doing club championships, as you know. So I guess I'm very, I got to be right around scratch or better. I beat a...
Let's do a check-in on the president's current golf swing. So what you're seeing there is him over-rotating or too quickly rotating his torso or hips through the golf swing and
losing motor skills,
leading to an extreme slice to the right. Looks like he landed in the rough. The reason he does this is because he has weakness in the hamstrings of his right leg. He cannot fully propel his hips through that motion, so he overcompensates with the rest of his torso.
There's a good video that shows him getting out of his golf cart. I'll show you in just a second.
There is no fucking way that he is a scratch golfer, but because MAGA is used to bullshitting their base, they just go with it. The only alternative.
Somebody wrote a book about it, about playing golf with him, like where he just fucking cheats.
That Trump has played in where he couldn't cheat was the American Century Tournament back in 2006, where he finished 62nd out of 80 celebrities, behind people like Ray Romano, and then promptly cheated on his wife with Stormy Daniels because he's a piece of shit. With all of these frontotemporal dementia symptoms, in addition to a possible history of stroke or TIA, congestive heart failure, chronic kidney disease, I'd say he's got 3 to 5 months left in the land of the living. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Hell of a press conference last night. Would you look at that? The New York Times is catching...
I think that people that are pushing him to do certain things know that he's not going to be around much longer.
Up to how sick the president actually is. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience treating geriatric patients in home health care, just like the president of the United States. New York Times article acknowledges he's keeping a shorter public schedule than he used to. Most of his public appearances fall between noon and 5 p.m. on average. The reason he's not doing any public appearances after 5 is because he sundowns after 5 p.m. This is a typical symptom of Alzheimer's or dementia, where as the evening comes on, a dementia patient becomes more confused, more combative, more difficult to deal with. They don't want you to see any of that on camera. And of course, Grandpappy turns to Natalie Harp, his executive assistant / 24/7 dementia caregiver, to type up another social media post where he calls the reporter from the New York Times ugly. Awesome. Then he says,
yeah, in the book, the guy, you know, like when you're playing golf and someone's like within a club length of the hole, you usually give them that, right? Like a tap in, you just give it to them. And if someone gives you one, then you give them one back or whatever. And you're nice about that, right? You don't make them make those shots because you can fuck that shot up. I'm not saying you can't, but it's one that if you're a decent golfer, 9 times out of 10, 90+% of the time you're going to hit. So you give them that, right? You say you're good. Don't worry about it. Trump would call shit like that from like the fucking sand trap. They'd be like, you're just going to give me this one, right? And just stupid shit. Change his scorecard. Lie about what par was, like lie about his strokes.
There will be a day when I run
while he's with a guy writing a book about his theory on life and golf.
Low on energy. But with a perfect physical exam and a comprehensive cognitive test that was aced, it certainly is not now. Listen here, you piece of shit. You have dementia, and your ego is so big that you would never admit that, even if you could remember that you have it. You have a history of lying.
Dude, I don't want to interrupt this guy to where his video doesn't even make sense, but I had the worst dream of my life. I was so upset I even contacted my sister about it. Like my heart was racing out of my chest around dementia.
To the American people about your health for over a decade. And all the sycophantic pieces of shit doctors that you've had hired over the years are complicit in this lie. On top of having dementia and probably also a history of stroke,
drop balls, yeah,
disease, I'd say the president has 3 to 5 months left in the land of the living. Thank you for your attention to this matter, you embarrassing sack of shit. Would you look at that? The New York Times. Let's take a look at this dementia patient walking toward Air Force One.
All right, this is a good one. Watch him get off track multiple times. His wife has to put him on track. Every time he sees somebody, he just starts like wandering towards them. He tries to go to this person. She pushes him. He tries to go to this person. She pushes him. Didn't salute. Remember when they gave everybody else so much hell over not saluting?
I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home health care treating geriatric patients, just like the president. You can see at several points there, Melania Trump was actually redirecting the president's direction as he walked. When he noticed the photographer to their left, his attention...
I'll tell you about the dream if you want to hear it.
...drawn to the left.
If you don't, that's cool too.
Melania got him back on it. The same thing happened when they came up on the officer saluting him at the foot of the steps. He doesn't salute, which is further indication that he has weakness on the right side. And Melania once again has to direct him back to the path that takes them straight to the foot of the steps. One thing that surprised me is that he was successfully able to close an umbrella. He has definitely struggled with this in the past, but notice that he didn't wrap it up and secure it. He simply squeezed it together and took it inside. And the last thing to notice is at the top of the steps, he looks around inside like he's never been there before. Like he doesn't know exactly exactly where to go. Like this isn't his aircraft. This is typical forgetfulness of earlier mid-stage dementia. I've said before and I'll say it again, I think he's got 3 to 5 months left in the land of the living when you consider frontotemporal dementia, possible stroke or TIA, combined with probably heart failure, chronic kidney disease. There's a lot of stuff going on with this guy. Thank you for your attention.
Sleepy Joe Biden and Trump can't stay awake.
Married. He was 31 and she was 15. He had children with his first wife who had passed away. And so as a man does in South Georgia back in those times, you just go find you another girl. And he found her in a cotton field. I recently had a patient who, when he was 18, he took his girlfriend who was 16 and they ran away to Florida specifically to get married.
Mariah's grandparents were like 13 and 15 when they got married.
This generation of people, when we call for there to be protection for children from predators or to protect underage girls from predators, just understand there's going to be pushback because their default mindset is knuckle-dragging Neanderthal, grab a woman by her hair and drag her back to your cave. That's who supports the guy in the White House and right-wing authoritarian politics, MAGA, all that stuff. Women are not human beings for them. So just fun fact out there, that's what we're really dealing with. Thank you for your attention to this matter. When my maternal grandparents got married, he was 31 and she was... Let's take a look at the way a person with dementia and or a history of stroke gets out of this golf cart.
This is a good one. Let me slow it back down to normal speed.
I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience.
Watch him.
Let's take a look at the
Watch his weakness in his right side.
way a person with dementia and or a history of stroke gets out of this golf cart.
His leg just falls. He can't control it.
I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience.
He's had a stroke, 100%.
Patients in home health care, just like the President of the United States. You notice how that right leg just flops toward the ground? It's because there's weakness in the hamstring in his right leg as a result of a stroke on the left side of his brain, which would cause weakness on the contralateral side of his body and also affect his language capability. Next thing you see happen is a very abbreviated step with the left leg. The reason that step is so short is because he does not trust his right leg to hold up his body weight effectively. One of the things we analyze as physical therapists regarding gait of a patient is step length. When steps are shortened in length, it's because the contralateral side is being favored. When a patient does not have confidence that one of their legs will hold them up, they will take a shorter step with the contralateral side to shorten what is known as the stance phase in walking. In normal gait, when you're walking, stance phase is when one of your legs fully supports your body weight just for a moment. But if there is any pathology with that limb, it can shorten the stance phase. It can affect the posture of the rest of your body through the stance phase, and it will give the appearance of somebody limping. This is most likely due to the fact that he's probably had a stroke or a series of TIAs. But it could also be due to general neuromotor decline as a result of frontotemporal dementia. Remember, his father passed away from dementia. They actually let Fred Trump come into the office for several years before he actually passed away. He had no idea where he was or what was going on, but it was a familiar setting to keep him from becoming combative. This is why he's surrounded by assholes.
Right. They just let him do that. They're doing the same thing with Trump.
That feed him lies about his approval rating, about the jobs numbers that they're not even going to release, and the price of typical items that you and I buy every day.
Lie to him
to keep him from becoming agitated. Based on all the symptoms that he displays, which include possible heart failure, kidney disease, I'd say he's got 3 to 5 months left in the land of the living. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Let's take a look at a stroke victim walking around the White House.
He cannot walk straight. He keeps there's just something going on with that leg.
There are several things to notice in that video. There are clear signs of somebody having had a stroke or a series of TIAs. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience treating geriatric patients in home health care, just like the president. Number one is his gait speed. Now, he's trying to linger and admire the photographs on the wall out there, but even so, I'm noticing the quality of all of his steps. They're labored. There's no flow to them. The number one statistical indicator of somebody's fall risk is actually their gait speed. I regularly perform something called a timed up and go test with my patients in home health care to put a number on just how likely it is that this person's going to get in a dangerous situation. The next thing is the width of his gait. The wider the base of support is, the more it's an indication that a patient has an internal belief that they're going to fall or they have a history of falls. So now they're even that much more scared to have another fall again, especially if they've been injured in a fall. The people among us with the best balance or optimal balance are able to keep our center of mass over a normal size base of support. The base of support will get bigger the more scared the patient is. And the next thing to notice is when he points toward the wall, he stumbles. He loses his balance and exhibits what's known as a scissor gait. The right foot crosses over the midline, but he's able to catch himself, for now anyway. And then lastly, as he goes up that incline at the very end, he takes 2 very big steps toward the right because he has weakness in his right leg, specifically the hamstrings. He's trying to prevent anyone from seeing his right knee snap back into hyperextension, indicating the hamstring weakness. It's especially easy to have that hyperextension happen when you're walking uphill. This is the same reason he would wear an AFO on that leg, as we've seen in photos from the past. With all of his health issues piling up like this, I'd say he roughly has 3 to 5 months left in the land of the living. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Let's take a look at a stroke victim. This is the hired caregiver that provides 24/7.
I think we watched that one, didn't we?
This is Natalie Hart. Her job title is executive assistant.
I think she does a lot of his tweeting too. Maybe directly from Stephen Miller.
Really? She makes sure that this dementia patient doesn't wander off somewhere at the goddamn roof of the White House, for example, hypothetically. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience in home health care treating geriatric patients with dementia, just like the president. Natalie is the one who types up and posts all of his social media posts. He dictates them to her. She filters and interprets and then types them up. And then you bet your ass she shows them to Stephen Miller before she hits post. You can't just have grandpa saying anything on the internet, can you? He doesn't know the word seditious. She knows that word. That's why it was posted. elected. This is a break from reality. There is no source or data that would support him saying he has the highest poll numbers of his political career. The polar opposite is actually the truth. Why would he post something like this? Because he has frontotemporal dementia. But all the people closest to him need to keep Grandpa around because he's their meal ticket. The Grandpa is the one that built this cult, and when he's gone, the cult will fracture. Many people are saying he's going to be worse. That's impossible. He didn't build the cult, and they don't have an emotional connection to him the same way they do to Grandpa. On top of likely frontotemporal dementia, he probably also has heart failure, chronic kidney disease, and some history of stroke or TIA. I'd say he's got 4 to 6 months left in the land of the living. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Jump scare. This is the higher dementia can cause disinhibition, can affect parts of your brain that store forbidden words, like these. This is likely a symptom of frontotemporal dementia, where the frontal lobe of the president has been affected, causing him to lose inhibition in everything that he says. Now, he was a loudmouth piece of shit since he was born, but things have gone to a new level, I think. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home healthcare, treating geriatric patients just like the president. As time goes by, this kind of behavior is actually not intentional. It's just a symptom of cognitive decline, and it's a person trying to express discomfort or fear or anxiety or some sort of underlying need they now no longer have a straight line of access to because of the damage to their brain. When I'm dealing with a patient like this in a real-world setting, I focus on the underlying message. I avoid correction, and I gently redirect the patient, or I manage the environment, kind of like they've allowed him to tear down the East Wing and start building a ballroom. That's an adult coloring book for a dementia patient. Also, remember, he's the first president in the history of our country to use the F word on camera. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's got 4 to 6 months left in the land of the living, because on top of these clear cognitive deficits, he probably also has heart failure, a history of stroke or TIA, chronic kidney disease, all sorts of fun stuff. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Dementia can cause disinhibition, can affect...
We've watching these in reverse. He's actually shortened that to 3 to 5, so we'll see. Yeah, we covered the remigration point and what it means. All right, guys. It's 1:30 here. Thank you all for joining us. Please consider supporting the show. That's how I pay the bills around here. This is the link. The mods have it too. Leave a donation. With many hands, many small donations, pay the bills around here. Thank you guys for continuing to donate. Thank you for helping me out. Helping pay the bills, keep the show on the air. I appreciate it. We got the office and the lights and the internet and shit. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to subscribe and support and show up. I'll be back. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, right? It's the weekend. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like Thor in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, beating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? It's it. Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. Lip balms and alcohol. Oh, give me a... Oh, my God. Damn it.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking. He was doing so well. It's all over. Hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They be working copy on Cox that came first. 9th inning, second string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit, sending runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience. It's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night?
The video game stream was really good. It doesn't get nearly as many views or whatever, but I had fun. Yeah, it's still less than 100 views on it, which is insane, but
Here we go, I think
it is what it is.
it's them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set.
Have a good night, guys.
Cause you ain't seen none yet.